What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Making a turn already on this week. DK Show up on the air. Radio dials, got a couple of those. At 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it at our website, Google Alexa home devices. Video stream up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this Wednesday morning. What do we got on the good old game plan here for us? Oh, Badger hoops last night, yuck, especially in that first half. Falling to Providence, 72-59. Badgers getting outscored in that first half, 37-21. Badgers just 5 of 20 from deep, from three, shooting 33.9% overall from the field. But they couldn't stop Providence either. Providence shot 58.5% from the field. 58.5. 44 from three. Providence struggled for the charity stripe. I mean, that might have been one of the downfalls of this. 16-27 just for 59, where the Badgers were perfect 12-12. But yeah, Greg Gard, according to some of the reporters covering the game and the presser and such, saw a couple people noted that that's probably the most frustrated and upset that they've seen Greg Gard in quite some time. I even saw it was Benjamin Wargel from the Badger Nation. One of his tweets after the game was Greg Gard is the angriest, most perturbed he's been in a long time. Calls out Tyler Wall and Stephen Krall for not finishing in the paint. Says in not so many words that freshmen Nolan Winter and John Blackwell are playing harder than they are. Kind of calling them out, yeah. I think it was it Jeff Patricus from the Journal Sentinel too, kind of saying, good news, positives from that Badger game last night. AJ Storr, again, AJ Storr, you've heard me talk about him a lot already. 22 points again for him last night. But Jeff was saying AJ Storr, Blackwell, some positives on there. Nolan Winter. He said the negatives, also those three because they're newcomers, they're freshmen or sophomore in AJ Storr's case, and they're the ones that are kind of leading the charge on a quote veteran led team here. So yeah, 1-2 on the season, still in the early goings here, but Greg Gard already maybe kind of calling out some of the effort from his veterans in this game. Last night too, Michigan State falling to Duke 74-65 in a big time matchup there. Marquette, fourth ranked Marquette, picking up a 71-64 victory over number 23 Illinois. So, and then elsewhere in college hoops, got number 1 Kansas taking down number 17 Kentucky, 89-84. So up next for the Badgers, you got Robert Morris coming up in just a couple days, and then next week tournament time as they will take on Virginia, and then beginning of the month, December, you got that 3-game stretch here. Maybe this is part of it too with Greg Gard. Third game, maybe kind of calling out the effort from some of his veterans because he knows it's going to get tougher, especially when you open up the month of December here with number 4 Marquette, Michigan State, and Arizona. Only one of those is at the Kohl Center, and that's Marquette. So, yeah, going to get tougher here. And Greg Gard, I think, knows it, and maybe making sure that his team's going to be ready for that stretch coming up here. Marquette's, if you're a Marquette fan, their next game isn't going to be till next week, the 20th, as they take on UCLA. So, speaking of hoops, Bucks are going to be back in action tonight, taking on the Toronto Raptors. We'll see if the Bucks can pick up another W. But that tip time 6:30 tonight. Coverage will begin at 6. Bucks are 6-4 on the season, looking for their 7th win. This is at Toronto, and then Friday you got another in-season tournament game against the Hornets, and then You got the Mavericks coming up Saturday, which should be a good game too. But kind of already looking, me personally, to next Wednesday, a week from today. Bucks visiting Boston. That should be a good day before Thanksgiving. Get a little Bucks action with that one going up against the Celtics. What a lot of people think between Bucks and Celtics to get through the Eastern Conference. That should be a good early test for both those ball clubs, right? So we'll talk a little hoops throughout the morning here. We'll hit that up both college and Bucks wise. Had a little bit of a scuffle last night in the NBA with the T-Wolves and the Warriors. Saw some ejections. Draymond put Rudy Gobert in a headlock. In-season tournament game between the two. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Jaden McDaniels rejected for their roles in a fight less than 2 minutes in. Green after putting Rudy Gobert in a headlock. So, the T-Wolves picked up the win there. So, but yeah, a little bit of a scuffle going on right there. I'm rewatching it again here this morning. I watched it a couple times here this morning already, but there you go. So we'll talk some hoops. We got stock reports. Stock reports are due. So whose stock is rising and whose stock is falling? Let us know. You can play along with us. Text us on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or Twitter, Facebook, video stream, whatever's easier for you over there. Give us your stock reports on up there. We're going to talk a little football as well. Packers will be returning to practice today as they get set to take on the Chargers of Los Angeles. Can this Packers defense slow down that Chargers offense? Can this Packers offense take advantage of a porous Chargers defense that really struggles to stop, well, a lot of people so far this year? We'll get a glimpse of what that injury report is going to look like for the Packers here. Again, Thursday and Friday might be the kind of the telling sign here, but we'll get our first glimpse of that coming up here in a little bit, or later on today, I should say. But with that, to lead off this morning, I want to have a little court session here. Okay, we're going to play a little court session here, a little law and order, if you will. We know that, and you guys are going to be the juries, okay? And I know you already got some predetermined picks on what I'm about to introduce to you, but try to keep an open mind on this, okay? Try to keep an open mind. Try to come into this without a decision. I know that's hard, especially for some of you. You've already got it predetermined, but we know this has been a maybe frustrating, disappointing season for both the Badger football team and this Packers team. Maybe for some, maybe for others, you kind of expected it with Green Bay, or maybe even the Badgers with the new coaching staff. Maybe you had lower expectations. I don't know. But the question, or the case that we're going to kind of present or throw out there for you, the jury, to decide. And again, try to keep an open mind with this as I will try to play the lawyer of both sides here and present the case for both sides. Okay, so try to keep an open mind on this thing. But at this point in time, from what you have seen, what you know about both of these ball clubs here, Packers, Badgers, okay? Who do you have the most confidence, or who do you think is set up to kind of be successful or get back to being a successful club, or getting to be a successful club in the next, let's say, couple of years? I don't want to pigeonhole it to just one. Let's say the next couple of years, okay? Now, again, I know there's going to be some of you that already have that answer in your mind. That's predetermined. and I'm not going to be able to sway it either way. But try to keep an open mind. I was working on this last night, a little bit this morning. I'm going to try to present the case for both sides here. And then after that, you decide, okay? You got to be the jury, right? You don't go into a case predetermined. I know sometimes it's hard, but I'm going to try to give you some facts, and I'm going to try to make the case for both sides here, okay? For both sides here. So don't give me your answers yet. I don't have the texting line up yet. I don't know if there's already text in there or not. So don't give me any of your answers yet. Wait until we kind of present the case for both sides. All right. So with that, let's get set. Let's get ready for a little law and order this morning. All right. Court is going to be in session. The cases will be made. The cases will be presented, and it's up to you to decide. All right. It's going to be up to you to decide here. So again, don't give me your picks right now. Want you to at least listen to both sides of the case. I'm a neutral part in this for now. I'm gonna play the part of both sides here. All right. So let's take our quick break, a little quick recess, if you will, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes to begin court this morning. All right. It's coming up after these quick words. All right, let's get things going here this morning on lead off. The report is telling over the case at hand, the case that we'll be presenting here for you, if you will, is obviously it's been a down year for Badger football and the Packers this year. Some fans incredibly frustrated. Some maybe had lower expectations to coming into the season, so maybe they're not too surprised or maybe too down. But nonetheless, I think we can all agree it's been a down year, right? I mean, Badgers 5-5. They're coming off of losses against Indiana and Northwestern, and the Packers sitting at 3-6 right now with a tough portion of their schedule coming up here with questions about quarterback. Is Jordan Love the guy or not? So I think there's a lot of similarities between these two teams, between these two programs. But the question at hand that we're throwing out to you, and again, don't give me your pick yet. I want you to try to come into this with a little bit of an open mind. I know it's gonna be hard because some already have that predetermined. All right, some already have that predetermined, which it is what it is. But try to come in with an open mind until after you hear both sides. But which of these teams, which of these programs, if you will, in the next couple years, I don't want to say next year because I want to give it a little bit more, but within the next maybe 2, 3, couple seasons here, do you trust or do you think or you have the most confidence in that they will get back to being a good team, solid team, playoff, conference championship style team? Which one do you think has the best opportunity, the best chance to get there, to get back to being a good ball team, a good ball club? Let's start off by making the case for why it should be. So I'll start this. I'm going to play lawyer for both sides here. Let's start off with making the cases why it should be the Packers and why it should be the Badgers, and then I'll flip it over and say why it shouldn't be the Packers and why it shouldn't be the Badgers. So we'll start off with a little bit of the positivity, if you will. So why it should be the Packers in the next couple of years here. I think you focus on two major things when it comes to this. One being that we know it has been thrown down everybody's throats. Everybody's throats that this is a young team. This is an inexperienced team. Yada, yada, yada. We've heard that before. And if that is the case, and which I think you can make a case for, you watch these games, you see the inexperience at play. Well, within the next couple years, that inexperience goes out the window. For some, they're already throwing it out the window. For this team, they already throw it out the window. But facts are facts. Okay? Facts are facts. In the next couple years, these guys are going to know what it's like in the NFL. The game's going to slow down for them a little bit more. They're going to be more experienced. They're going to be better players with a little bit more years under their belts, whether that's the wide receivers, the tight ends, maybe some in the secondary or wherever the case may be. These younger guys are going to gain a little bit more experience, and they are going to be better. The second part of this thing is you look at the salary cap situation. This year, Green Bay took a lot of hits in the dead cap, took a lot of hits in cap hit in general. Kind of a wash year, if you will. We see teams do that. It catches up to them. Tampa Bay went through it. Is going through it now. New England went through it after Brady left. They're paying the piper right now with Aaron Rodgers dead cap and David Bakhtiari's big cap hit right now, and he's on IR and he ain't coming back. Next year, things open up quite a bit in terms of the salary cap. By simply releasing David Bakhtiari, you open up nearly $21.5 million in cap space. Nearly $21.5 million in cap space. To where, according to Spot Track, and we don't know exactly what that cap is going to be, but we know the salary cap is going to rise more than likely next year. You're looking at a little under $30 million available in cap space for the Packers. Well, if you also release Aaron Jones, fan favorite, we get it, we understand it. But if you release him, that's going to earn you a little bit more, about close to $5.5 million available cap space. So Green Bay is going to be going into next year in decent cap space, offseason, decent cap space coming up here. And for anybody who says, well, they don't spend or anything like that, bull. Goody has shown he does spend. He has shown. I go back to after that down year where they missed the postseason. And yes, maybe it was a little bit of a different circumstance in terms of, you had Rodgers as your quarterback and you're trying to get one more with him. But he spent on Preston, he spent on Za'Darius, he spent on Adrian Amos, and he spent on Billy Turner. All four in like one day. And he even said earlier this year, I hope the salary cap is big this year. So insinuating he wants to spend. He wants to spend. And I think given how this year has gone, he knows he has to spend, maybe to save his job. So to me, those two are big reasons for optimism for the next couple of years for Green Bay. And this year, you're probably going to get a top 10 pick. And it's probably going to be an impact player. Knock on wood it is. Hopefully, we know the draft is a crapshoot. But you're going to get a top 10 pick. That should be a contributor for this ball club right away. And I want to address the big question mark. The big question mark and where the success will be determined. Actually, there's two of them. Love. Is Jordan Love the guy? Is he the guy that can be the long-term starter for this team? He has been a lightning rod of conversation and debate throughout this whole season. And for some, they haven't seen enough. For some, they've seen enough, and he's not the guy. But I think you have to look at the bigger picture. We can break down numbers. We can break down statistics. We can break down, completion percentage, and they're not great. Let's be honest, they're not great. But you're looking for growth this year. And it's a small sample size here. But if you are a believer in Pro Football Focus, in the last couple of weeks here, Jordan Love has been graded the 6th highest quarterback in the last couple of weeks. 3rd highest, according to Zach Cruz, if you only count the quarterbacks who played 2 games. 3 ahead of them had bye. So, some of those quarterbacks only played 1 game in the last 2 weeks. So, maybe is that an incredibly small sample size? It is an incredibly small sample size. But we're looking for growth. We're looking for optimism. We're looking for things that show potential. And I think anybody who says that Jordan Love in the last couple of weeks hasn't played that well, you might have some predetermined opinions on him. He has played well in the last couple of weeks. Maybe outside that interception to Jordan Love in that previous game, but I digress. So you're looking for growth. You're looking for optimism there. But I think the big reasons why that Green Bay maybe is the team that you have a little bbit more confidence in, a little bit more optimism in, that they can be a team that rebounds and is going to get back to being a solid unit, a solid team. You look at the cap space available. They're going to clear out all that dead cap, all that waste. They're going They're younger players right now. They're inexperienced. I'm going to try to avoid saying younger. They're inexperienced players are going to have more games under their belt. They're going to have that experience. They're going to be better players of it. They're going to continue to grow. I think those are the two big reasons why you should expect optimism when it comes to Green Bay. They're going to get better. Now, for the Badgers, what's the positivity? Why should we expect for Badger football to be the better ball club in the next couple of years? What's the case for the Badgers? Luke Fickell, year one, new coaching staff, a lot of transfer guys coming in here, maybe even some guys that, Luke Fickell, you hear the phrase, it's not this coaching staff's players and such. But I think why you should be optimistic is you look at Luke Fickell and his background. Look what he did at Cincinnati. Not to necessarily rest on his laurels and rest on what he did in Cincinnati, what he has done over there. But I think that in itself gives you confidence. That gives you confidence for what he did in his few years at Cincinnati. His record at Cincinnati, his first year, he takes that team and overall 4-8. 4-8, okay? But after that, he goes 11-2, 11-3, 9-1, 13-1, 9-3. You look at that, and that just screams optimism. His first year, nothing to brag home about. But he gets in there, starts to mold it, starts to make it his program, starts to build it, and then in the following years, makes those big jumps, makes those leaps, becomes a perennial contending team. After that first year, Cincinnati in 18 finished 24th in the AP, 21st in the AP, 8th in the AP, 4th in the AP, and then in 2022, they didn't finish in the AP, but they were 9-3 overall. That should give you a lot of optimism surrounding this Badger football team. Should also give you optimism that, yes, his recruits coming in the next couple of years, his guys that fit his system on defense, on offense, getting those guys in, getting him into the program, getting him into the offseason training, weight rooms, that sort of stuff, that should give you some optimism in itself. That he's going to get Luke Fickell guys to come into the program. So to me, the two big things why you should be optimistic for maybe this Badger football team in the next couple of years to have successful seasons, to have successful years, is going to be Fickell's background, his pedigree, you look at the evidence. He comes in after year one, things start to change after he starts to mold it, after he starts to set that base, after he starts to build it a little bit, and they come out swinging. Did it in Cincinnati. And then you factor in all these new crop of players coming in here. That should give you some excitement there. That this team is going to be better. That they're going to get back to being 9, 10, 11 win team up there. Bowl games, maybe competing for Big Ten championships, Big Ten West, being the premier team in the Big Ten West, maybe. Maybe. Now, what about the negatives? What about the negatives here? Why won't the Packers be the team that is going to be the team that bounces back and is going to be back to being a top team or one of the better teams in the next couple of years? Jordan Love. We don't know what the heck. We don't know what the heck to expect from Jordan Love. What have we seen from him so far this year on a consistent basis that gives anybody any confidence whatsoever that Jordan Love is the guy. To go counter now that I got to go kind of go against some of the positive cases here, but to counter the grades from the last couple weeks, what about the weeks prior? Wasn't good. And we've looked at some of these games against the Raiders, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, where they had a couple of opportunities to, take the lead, win the games, getting into the red zone, close to the red zone, picks an interception, picks in the end zone, not able to punch it in the end zone. You have to question at this point here, all right, dude, do you have that level? Do you have that moxie, that closeout mentality there? Do you have it? You've had a few opportunities to do so. Come on, man. And then, what about the deep ball, the deep threat? Your accuracy issues. I mean, to be a starting quarterback, to be a good starting quarterback in the National Football League, got to be able to stretch the field, got to be able to be accurate with that football. Right? I mean, come on, there's questions. We're halfway through this season, and at best, you may not know if he's the guy. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at this point in time. So if Green Bay has to go into this draft and maybe look at a quarterback, it's going to set them back. Got to restart that whole process there a little bit because you don't know if you're going to get a CJ Stroud. You don't know if that new quarterback's going to, lead you to the promised land in a couple years. We don't know that at this point. But if we're assuming that Jordan Love is the guy right now, there's definitely question marks around it. Number 2, Joe Barry. What if Matt LaFleur keeps his buddy around? Oh, boy. Where's the confidence in that thing? I don't have confidence in that. Do you have confidence in that? If Matt LaFleur decides to not make any changes within his coaching staff, I think you have to question whether, can Green Bay get back to being a premier program, being a good program in the next couple of years. So many questions within his coaching staff and with Matt LaFleur himself. We've seen some of the offensive schemes and plays so far this season, and you kind of have to question. You have to question the scheme. Former players have questioned the scheme. Kurt Benkert has questioned the scheme. Called it outdated. We got witnesses to that. So when you look at all that, it's like, how do you feel good? How do you feel good about that? Great. Hey, we got draft picks coming in. Awesome. But we've also seen first-round picks for Green Bay. They have a tendency, whether that's the players they drafted or a franchise mindset, got to ease them on in. First-round picks, they're not necessarily starters. Devontae Wyatt last year. Lucas Van Ness this year. Yes, Quay Walker got a lot of snaps last year. But you look at some of these other guys, they've kind of eased them on in. And then don't need to tell you about third-round pick history, right? Hasn't been good for Goody and such. So, and then you're looking at the Lions right now. If the Bears actually draft well, is that division going to get a little bit tougher? Going to get a little bit better overall? Yeah. Can't be Green Bay when you look at all that. Can't be. Badger-wise, why can't it be the Badgers? Let's flip the switch here. For all the talk about this isn't Fickle's guys, this isn't his group, bull. It's this coaching staff for all these transfer guys. These were guys they targeted in the transfer portal. They brought them in. They weren't handed these guys. They brought them in. They recruited them to come in here. And a lot of these guys, too, were guys they targeted while Fickle and his staff was in Cincinnati. These were guys that they wanted, not just for this year, but for the years prior. Yes, did they get guys that were already on this Badger team? Absolutely. But the quarterbacks, these were picked by this coaching staff. The wide receivers, Williams, USC, we were all hyped up about it. These were guys picked by this group. And you want to talk about the recruiting class coming up here for 2024? All right, 24th. It's not a top 10 class according to 24/7 Sports. It's 24th right now. Okay, you want to do 20 should we look at it a little bit further? 2025, a little bit better. Still 17. And those guys by that time, if we're just looking at a couple years, are they even going to be on the field? Are they even going to be on the field? But perhaps the biggest indicator, deciding factor of why maybe it won't be this Badger team that'll be the better team or a team that bounces back in the next couple of years is that this conference is going to get so much better. So much better. We know the expansion of this conference, right? I mean, with USC coming, Oregon coming, UCLA, those teams, they're coming. And it's going to make this conference a whole lot more difficult. Heck, look at next year's schedule for the Badgers. You open up against Western Michigan, South Dakota. Okay, cool. Then you got Alabama and then USC. You get a bye week in between the two there. Now, I don't know what USC is going to look like next year. Caleb Williams, you probably assume, is not going to be there. Who knows about Lincoln Riley? And right now, USC is trending downward. But still, you got to go to California for that one. Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern, Penn State, Iowa. Then you got Oregon, Nebraska, Minnesota. It's going to get tougher. 2025, your opponents, you got Washington on there. Washington, one of the better teams this year. You got Ohio State, you got Oregon, and you got Michigan. It's going to be a whole lot more difficult this year. Or I should say, the next couple years with this Big Ten schedule. Can Wisconsin compete against those teams? What gives you the confidence that Wisconsin can compete with those teams? Their quarterback next year is probably going to be Braden Locke. We've seen him this year. What gives you confidence that he's going to get better? Oh, you say more experience the older he gets. Why can't you say the same thing that about Packers with their younger roster, with their younger guys? If you're going to say it for the Badgers, why can't you say it for the Packers? Things are going to get tougher in this conference here. So overall, it's a tough one for me to kind of pick it. Again, I know everybody's probably going to be predetermined because maybe they don't like Matt LaFleur. They don't, there's like, nope, don't like Jordan Love already. So I'm gonna pick Badgers, or I don't know. Everybody's going to be a little different here. Everybody's going to be a little bit different here. It's tough. I think for me, though, if I had to make a pick between one, and you kind of boil it down, it's kind of like a positive and negative column. When you make those positive and negatives sheets, when you're trying to make a decision, that sort of stuff. Coaching-wise, I kind of trust Luke Fickell a little bit more right now. So I think advantage goes to that. But then I factor in things are going to get really tough in this conference. Can Wisconsin play up to that level? Can they? I think right now there's some question marks surrounding it. The one big positive I do give Green Bay, though, is money, is salary cap. I do feel like Green Bay is a team that will spend once they get that salary cap in. I feel like they're going to bring in some players in the next couple of years because things are going to open up. I feel like maybe there will be desperation might be a little bit too strong of a word here, but there's going to be an urgency, a sense of urgency after this year to okay, figure it out, get it going here a little bit. That's both from the front office and the coaching staff. I feel like Joe Barry will be let go. There will be changes within the coaching staff. And maybe you could say the same thing about the Badger football team, too. We talked to RJ about it the other day. Could they make a change at offensive coordinator? It's tough. But if I had to make a pick, the one that I think has just a little bit more, just a skosh, a little bit more, that maybe in the next couple of years, they're going to be back to a really good team, back to a really good program. But as slimmest of margins, I might take Green Bay. Just a little bit. A little bit. Because to me, I think the deciding factor in it is salary cap, free agents, money. That to me is just kind of the big one out there. I think you can get a flux of, or, get a few free agents in and such, and it changes things up a little bit. And I feel like Green Bay is going to be doing that in next offseason after that too. I feel like that. I feel it. Could be wrong, but that's my gut. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll wrap up the first hour here after these quick words. We're going to be recording another episode of the Man Cave podcast from Ray's Place later on today around noon for a little lunch. Going to be a hunting episode. Got a couple of people stopping by to be on the podcast to talk a little hunting and such, with the opener coming up on Saturday. So we'll be over there. Ray's good friends over there. Taking in some craving a hot beef, so I'm going to have one for lunch here today. So. But we'll get that episode up later on today when we're done recording and such. So we'll hit that up. But speaking of the opener, don't forget to, if you're wondering where you should be taking your deer this year if you get one, Mike's Star Market, west side of Eau Claire. Stop on by, get some of their pricing. Remember, they'll cape it out too if you get that big one over there. So Mike takes care of that too. But if you want some ideas on what you should get for your venison, like what you should make it into, brats, snack sticks, all that good stuff, stop on by Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire and check out what they all have, check out what they can do. I was just there Friday. I already got a good game plan if I'm lucky enough to get one. Been a while, but had a big bear on my trail cam pick late last night. I've got one of those cellular trail cam things, and big old bear walking through on one of mine. Haven't had that since the summer on there. So yeah, well, with the weather and warm and being like that, what do you expect? So all right, we'll finish up the first hour. Good morning, Morgs.
How excited are you to get out to the stand? Got your venison processing ideas kicking around?
Yeah, I was just saying last night to my phone, first time since the summer, I had a big old bear.
So. Hey, you know what? I did not get the bear the same way as you did on your trail cam there, but there was one that got schmucked on the interstate.
Really?
Yeah, I saw it when I was driving into Eau Claire, and actually the bear numbers across the state are down this year.
Yeah, I think warmer weather, they're still moseying around.
Yeah, they mosey around where I walk the dogs at home, and that's kind of something you just let mosey on and hold your breath and hope for the best. Yeah, we've seen quite a few out this year too.
Exactly.
So what was the last meme you sent, if you can share with the class, or is it inappropriate? It's National Meme Day.
It was probably, it's probably the king of all memes when you just, The Office. We can have so many of those.
Oh, yeah.
You
could go deep.
Michael Scott kind of stare one sort of thing.
That's a GIF or a GIF.
Or a GIF, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking like
memes.
meme.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And because today's National Meme Day, so the last one I sent.
Does anybody do memes anymore?
Oh my gosh, am I old?
GIFs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the last meme I sent on Meme Day was to my sister yesterday, and it just says, "It's been a long week, me in the middle of Tuesday." So it was just kind of along the same lines as the Michael Scott stare, but yeah, that was the last meme. So if you're doing any
don't do
memes
today anymore.
You've graduated.
Well, because you go on your phone, it's got like the option for GIFs or GIFs or whatever. It doesn't have a meme option.
Speaking of, you going to Ray's today to record? Are you a mustard or no mustard on your hot beef? Yeah?
Yep.
Always?
Got to put a little in there.
So how do you make it? What's your go-to hot beef? If you're there to record, but you got to get a hot beef because you're at Ray's.
Put some mustard in there.
Good lunch option. Wash it down with the Man Cave.
Yep.
Are you taking any of that for your own hunting weekend opener this site?
The Man Cave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you suggest that? How do you serve that? Salt on the rim? Sugar? Umbrella?
Salt on the rim. Come on.
So yesterday we were talking about No Shave November a little bit and beards, and you actually guessed right. The average beard will grow 5.5 inches a year, so ahead of hunting here with a lot of people growing out those facial hair. We're going to talk one more time about some stats for beards. Yesterday I left you with this deck of cards. Picture the cards in front of you playing poker. There's only one king in the deck without a mustache. What suit is that?
Hearts.
You're right. It is. It is the king of hearts that does not have a mustache. Now, if you study beards professionally, which apparently is the thing that you can be, do you know what that's called? Something ologist.
Beardologist?
No.
Hairologist?
No.
Scruffologist?
Hogonologist?
Where did they come up with a name? Is that Latin?
It's got to be, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's got to have some kind of historical.
Yeah.
But then we have Hans Langseth, the man bearing the title with the longest beard ever. Any guess?
10 feet.
17 feet, 6 inches.
All right, second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning, making turn Wednesday morning. Don't forget to send us your stock reports. Stock reports are due, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. We'll get to those in about an hour from now. Give you some time to text those on in 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. I want to do a quick reminder before we get to some sports nuggets of the day. We've partnered up with our good friends from Hy-Vee right now as part of our best holiday ever, where if you go to Hy-Vee and you buy a Hormel Cure 81 ham from Hy-Vee, you're going to get a turkey. But if you don't have any need for that turkey, or maybe you're just not a turkey person, you can donate that turkey. So all you got to do is just go up to the meat department, grab a voucher from there, and then when you go to the checkout line there, you scan that voucher and you will donate that turkey to a family that could use it for Thanksgiving. I know our good buddy C-Bomb did that Friday when we were over there at Hy-Vee for the Veterans Day breakfast. Or if you just want to even donate a turkey, if you want to do that, you can do that as well. So next Tuesday, going to be over there, and we're going to be handing out some of those turkeys for some families or for some people who may need a little help this Thanksgiving. So if you want to donate a turkey, you can do that as well. Or if you want to take advantage of that deal where you buy a ham and get a turkey, you can donate that turkey as well. But Midwest Family and Hy-Vee will be matching all donations to ensure everyone in the community has a great holiday meal. Plus, I also want to note too, because Backyard Dreams here, coming up in December 13th, we're going to be doing this. But we're looking for some kiddos to take Christmas shopping, all right? As part of our Backyard Dreams, we want to take some kids Christmas shopping. Maybe, shop it for themselves, or maybe if they want to, spend some or get some gifts, I should say, for their family. If they want to do that, we want to help them out. So all you got to do is head to around the 715. That's around the number 715.com. We've got that nomination form up there. Fill it out, upload, send it on over, and then we'll go through it. I'll make things easier too. If you want that link texted to you or emailed to you, just hit me up with a message and I'll send it to you too. So we're looking to take some kiddos Christmas shopping as part of our Backyard Dreams program this year too. So more details, just let me know and I'll send those on over. Otherwise, you can visit around the 715.com. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Yancey Associates. It was Richard Petty, 1992, drove in the final race of his 35-year career. We've got Barry Sanders in 1998 registered his fifth straight 100-yard running game. It was the 75th of his career. Mike Modano in 2002 with the Dallas Stars scored his 1,000th NHL point. He was only the fifth U.S.-born player to reach that milestone. 2005, Major League Baseball players and owners agreed to tougher penalties for steroid use for the next season. The new rules called for a 50-game suspension for a first offense, 100 games for a second, and a lifetime ban for a third, plus testing for amphetamines. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Yancey Associates. Catching up on some texts going on here. Sam, great segment, DK. I love the way you broke it down after hearing all of that. I have to go with the Packers for long-term success. This is an extremely young team that has multiple rookies starting in key roles. With that comes growth, and you have a salary cap in which you will be able to bring in multiple starters to help this young team. Badgers are competing at a very low level of energy, and there is nothing to look at the future and say, at least we have so-and-so. It's going to be extremely tough for Fickle to compete next year, and being he didn't fix issues on both sides of the ball. Plain T, morning DK. So with the Packers record at 3-6 and basically no shot at the playoffs, is it okay if I find myself looking for steady improvement from Love and the other areas of the team, but hoping they lose to better their draft position? Has that thought been crossing your mind as well? It feels so wrong, but I think it's right. Well, I'll tell you this, Plain T. I am 100% looking at this point in time. I don't expect playoffs. That's not my expectation. I want to see growth. I want to see steady improvement like you, but I'm not going to apologize for a win. I still want them to win. Okay, I still want them to win. I get you're not the only one that can lower draft position and that sort of stuff, but I just feel like the draft is such a crapshoot. Just because you may have a top 5 doesn't necessarily going to guarantee you're going to get a future Hall of Famer or a great player. Does that improve your chances of doing that? Absolutely. It absolutely does. But look at some of these other players that have been drafted teens and 20s. I mean, look across the border. Minnesota, Justin Jefferson wasn't a top 5 pick, wasn't even a top 10 pick, over there too. So my main thing here is I want to see growth. I want to see improvement. I want to see something that gives us confidence going into next year, a little bit like the Detroit Lions last year. But if they win, I ain't gonna apologize. I'm still gonna pour me a little bit of victory scotch and celebrate a W over there too. Jason saying, Dan, you say you feel like Green Bay will have the money to bring in free agents. Well, they will. I don't think I don't feel that way. They will factually. But I recall a time when free agents would not come to Green Bay. There was nothing for them here. Reggie White broke that mold. And then 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back to back gives people a reason to come to Green Bay. But if you don't have that, why would anybody come here? My fear is they won't be able to get free agents come to Green Bay. That the big thing there is money. 100%, it's money. I mean, if players would go to Washington, D.C. and play for that crapshoot of a Dan Snyder over there, it was because of money. Money is why people go to where they go. So at one point, was Green Bay considered the Siberia? Absolutely, it was. But that was also plus 30 years ago. Money is the 100% deciding factor why people decide where they go. Maybe for some veterans, later on in their careers, it's not necessarily money. It's ring chasing, championship, all that sort of stuff. But I don't think Green Bay is going to be looking for those guys like a guy entering his last year and just looking for a ring at this point, because they're not quite there yet. So, all right. Let's say good morning. How you doing, Lucas?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I need a little bit of a breather there.
Yeah, you did. That was a pretty sizable statement there.
Money, baby.
Yeah.
It's money, right?
It's all about the Benjamins.
Yeah, exactly. So
Quote Diddy, or whatever he was back then. Was he P. Diddy at that point? Puff Daddy?
Oh, I thought you were just talking about Benjamin Franklin. So because it's on the $100 bill. So yeah. Yep.
Whatever that song. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but all right. How you doing? I got no trend. Yeah, there you go. Joshua Dobbs. I don't know.
I at this point, I like, gosh, this is so weird. They're gonna end up with a winning record.
You think so?
I think so. Like
Right.
I can't believe this is happening. Like they're very clearly a better team.
Yeah.
Metrically speaking. I'm going to save one element of my analysis of this team for the stock reports. But I know Denver's favored, but part of that's by the side note, is the 3-point advantage on a line still valid, or has that shifted more to like a 2.5?
I think it's more of a 2.5.
Okay.
At this point.
Okay. Because the Broncos are 2.5-point favorites at home. And my immediate thought was, so basically you're saying the Vikings are slight favorites overall. And then I went, whoa, hang on. So did that kind of evolved around? So it's basically a pickup, which I think that's a good point, because the Broncos are trending up. Yeah, I know the Bills gave a whole lot of that game to Denver on Monday night, but still Denver overall has been improving the past few weeks. Their DVOA is still terrible. Their defensive DVOA, like at the bottom of the league, but overall I think they are trending in the right way. So, I mean, it's perfectly possible the Vikings lose. I'm not saying that Josh Dobbs is the answer for a quarterback for the Vikings. He's a total folk hero right now. He's getting into like Teddy Bridgewater territory. I'm trying to remember how much Case Keenum got in that role, like somewhat so, but does that does not, of
Is
course.
any Vikings fan calling for him to be the long-term starter at this point yet?
I have not.
Have you seen that anywhere?
Nothing significantly so. I'm sure
Okay.
there's someone like, yeah, Dobbs signed him to a 10-year cut. No, I'm sure that's out there somewhere. And I mean, he's brought a different dynamic to the team. It probably helps that he's able to run the ball where the rushing offense is like, seriously, every week when ESPN has all their reporters, like Rob Demoski, Kevin Seifert, etc., do their like who's trending up, who's trending down. Just about every week trending down, or the problem spot has been the running game. It's almost a joke at this point, but it's true because that's the problem with this team. Dobbs has covered that for now, but that's a for now thing. That's not a long-term solution. They're going to look probably elsewhere unless Dobbs puts up incredible numbers for the rest of this season. But this might be enough to keep the competitive rebuild. That's what Adolfo Mensa is doing, or that's what he wants to do, I should say. That might be enough to keep that intact. That's his mission. It's not to win the Super Bowl this year. It's to be in position to win the Super Bowl 2+ years. And then going forward from there, this is doing that. So, yeah, they're definitely, it's weird to say they're definitely a better team this year, even though their record's not going to match that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to end up with a winning record. They're on the verge of 7 victories, and I've had them in the 7 to 10 range to start the season. It doesn't take that much further to get to 9. They're not going to lose 6 in a row. So, or 7 in a row. They're probably going to be, I could see 9-8, maybe even 10-7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those Lions games are going to be tough, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, I was thinking through the NFC playoff spot. This might be a little premature, but it almost feels like we know who's going to be in the playoffs from the NFC.
In the NFC?
Yeah. Dallas and Philly from the East.
Yeah.
Detroit, probably Minnesota from the Central.
Central. Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Went Norris division.
Wow.
NFC North. Somebody from the South, because somebody has to, probably with another losing record that gets to host a playoff game. Again, NFL, why didn't we fix this? Now we get Baker Mayfield and the 6-11 Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting a playoff game. And then in the West, probably San Francisco and Seattle.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, yeah, I know Washington, Green Bay, LA could potentially.
Oh, stop it.
I mean, if everything, I know. But am I wrong? That it kind of feels like that's who it's going to be. And I know I'm hesitant to say that at the halfway point of the season. So much can happen, but can you make a really strong case that any other team is going to go on a run? No. I think we know who we've got. AFC's way more interesting at this point.
100%.
But the NFC, and it's almost to the point where you almost kind of know how the divisions are going to stack up too. I don't think Seattle's going to overcome San Francisco. I know it's gotten close, but I think the Niners are back on track. It's probably the East. And that's a question of if Philadelphia is demonstrably worse than last year and if the Cowboys can string together 3 good games. And I don't know that that's the case. I think it's probably going to be Philly, Detroit, someone from the South, and San Francisco are your division winners. And then we already know the wild cards. There we go. Let's fast forward to mid-January.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well.
Yeah. Mike, what's a quick text here? Why worry about draft choices? We don't have anyone at 1265 Lombardi that is worth a darn drafting talent. I disagree, Mike. I not to pick on you, but blank statements like that, I just like I disagree with that. Like, yeah, what teams get everything right? You know what I mean? Like, so I was looking this up while you were talking here, Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
So the ESPN last year did an article, which teams have gotten the best value since 2012. We rank them all. If you're into, analytics with this thing. So they did a thing called career approximate value over expected. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Day 3, teams getting the most. Packers were number 1 overall throughout the whole draft. Packers were ranked number 5. Sports Illustrated also did their own version. of teams drafting, NFL draft ranking the best and worst teams at picking players. Sports Illustrated put Green Bay 6 overall. A lot of the same teams are up there. Kansas City, Philadelphia, these teams that maybe get a little bit more of the limelight. San Francisco was in the top 5 for Sports Illustrated too. Because a guy doesn't get every single pick right, that doesn't make them that they're awful at drafting. I just, name a team that's gotten every single pick right so far.
Yeah, that never happens. I mean, the Packers are okay. I think that's not excellent.
Well, I would say top 5 is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, and just my assessment, the way I've seen how the team is developed. Also maybe, and maybe to his point a little bit more, is if you are a draft and development team, there is going to be more weight put on your ability to draft. So you can draft fairly well, but if not all those players become, big stars, and you have to keep drafting to replace them, and you keep getting decent talent, maybe then it's actually a worse outcome. You see what I mean? Because you're not then supplementing that with a lot of top-notch free agents, because that's not your approach fundamentally as a franchise. That doesn't mean that you throw out the entire team or front office because of that. I mean, I think they made some good choices over time. I get the frustration, though. I mean, again, I saw something about the Packers could be a top 10 drafting team. And of course, the first thing I think of is, and we've joked about this before, and we will joke about it again, and they're going to bypass any wide receiver that's there. And I think that's kind of stuck in a lot. I'm not saying that the texter is thinking that. He may not be considering the lack of a first-round wide receiver. But that's a constant knock on the team. Even though, like you said, with like Justin Jefferson was not a top pick, turned out pretty well. I mean, I've mentioned the GM across the border to the west. That 2022 draft looks terrible. 2023 draft has Jordan Addison. I mean, suddenly, wow, his drafting ability looks way better because of one guy who was not drafted at the top of the draft. Mm-hmm. See that? I mean, it can change really fast based on one player.
Which isn't right, though.
Right.
That's not right.
That's not a good assessment. It's the bright, shiny object.
And that's where I think Goody's going to get hyper-focused on, is because of Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
You forget, his first draft, who I thought was masterful what he did in the first round, when remember that one where he traded back with New Orleans, then got an extra first-round pick for the next year just by trading back into the first round, then traded up a couple spots and got Jair Alexander.
Yep.
Then he got Rashawn Gary with that pick the following year. The Darnell Savage one's pretty questionable at this point for his other first-round pick. But that same draft, he got an all-pro guard and Elton Jenkins in the second round. We could do this every single day of the week if we wanted to. Has it been 100% perfect? No. Has there been misses? Absolutely, 100%. But I think to say that the guy doesn't have any talent is short-sighted at this point.
Right.
He's made some good picks, just like every other general manager front office out there. They made some good picks. They made some really awful picks, some more than others at this point.
I mean, would you not want to draft for Rashawn Gary?
A lot of people didn't want to at that point.
I know it was a controversial choice at the time, but now,
and who was right?
Brian Gutekunst.
Yeah. He was right. Give him credit.
Jair Alexander. Oh, yes, I know he's trended down this year, but would you rather not have Jair Alexander?
I'd rather have Jair Alexander.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he did draft those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Those were smart moves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, exactly. Totally agree.
All right, let's take a quick break. Let's talk a little hoops. Your T-Wolves getting in a little scuffle there last night there, big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's Draymond Green, so what do you expect? So, Draymond Green.
Yeah.
And Klay Thompson. I'm not a Klay Thompson fan either.
Yeah.
So, and, you get those two ejected, and Steph Curry wasn't even playing to begin with. And but you got a good defense right now, defensively.
We do.
T-Wolves.
We do.
One of the best in the league, if not the best in some categories. So
we do.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more after these quick words. So I'm going down a rabbit hole here, Lucas, and I know I might be opening up a can of worms here a little bit, but why not, right?
Boy, what?
I love the draft.
Yes.
I love it. So I was curious, how many, like, Ron Wolf's success at drafting? That's where I'm going with this thing.
We're gonna compare Ron Wolf with Brian Gutekunst with
Might as well throw in Ted Thompson too, right? Because
Mike Sherman.
Oh God, Mike Sherman.
Hmm.
I forgot about that hot minute.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw a trivia question out for people first, okay? Give them some time. Don't just give me a number, okay? Just give me a number. Try not to cheat on this thing. Ron Wolf, as Packers general manager, drafted these many All-Pro players. Okay, not Pro Bowl. I'm going to say, because I don't value Pro Bowls that much. I don't know about you, but I don't.
Ty Huntley factor, the Mitchell Trubisky factor,
right?
Yeah.
So, All Pro. How many All Pros did Ron Wolf draft during his tenure as Packers general manager? Give me a number. If you want to impress me, you can give me some names if you want there too. Try not to.
Not all pro appearances, players who at some point in their career were all pros.
Mm-hmm. I think I've got the number. I think I've got the number here. So think about it for a little bit, and you can text us here.
Okay.
All right. So, hoops wise, let's chat a little hoops.
Yeah.
You got your T-Wolves with a win last night against the Warriors.
They're good.
Bucks are back in action tonight as well. So Bucks, they're good. A little up and down here. I think the biggest thing with the Bucks is probably, two parts. One, their third scorer, and defense right now.
By the way, should Adrian Griffin have been fired yesterday, Monday, this past Sunday, this past Saturday, or this past Friday?
I probably should have been before game one, to be honest with you.
Gosh.
Yeah. Just saying. But,
So now we're getting the zags of, wow, this is out of hand. This actually, it's also early. It's why I'm not ready to come off my Celtics Bucks pick for the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I know it doesn't look good right now, but we've seen teams turn around mid-season, and he's not going to get fired because what? If Nick Nurse was the guy you probably should have had, he's not leaving Philadelphia now to come to Milwaukee. Okay, who are you going to get? I mean, I guess Terry Stotts, but no. So what? We're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to figure this out on the fly, and hope everything comes together in April and May and June, which is when it counts. And hey, if you're good then good. You can still win a title. What's the biggest? I don't want to just say non-Adrian Griffin flaw. What is it the third scorer? Is that the biggest issue with the team right now?
I mean, you look at it, and it was kind of exposed when Damian was out for a couple games, right? Giannis putting up 54 points and they lose. Giannis the next night puts 35, almost a triple-double, and they lose to Orlando over there too, because they're still Chris Middleton back from that offseason knee surgery, still on a load management minutes there. I think that is one issue out there. But I think you look at, defensively here too, they're struggling a lot of defensive metrics, which last year they were, and I know Drew Holiday missing is probably a reason for that too, but I think this is a bigger drop than many people expected in defensive metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it, a week and a half ago, they already had to go up to Adrian Griffin and say, hey, we got to adjust defensively. And then, the next night, Brook Lopez goes out there and has 8 blocks, over there too. You kind of wonder too, I thought there would be some adjustment in the first few weeks of the season, chemistry wise. I know Bobby Portis mentioned that the other night, that their chemistry is just a little bit off, and hopefully it gets back or gets going here in a little bit. It could be just that. It could just be, Adrian Griffin's brand new and still, because if you think about it, preseason in the NBA is not that long, right? They don't do a whole lot in the preseason.
Nope.
So hopefully it kind of gets going here. But you look at it, Damian Lillard too. He's had a couple good games, but you look at his field goal percentage and 3-point percentage, it's not that great. Yeah. He's chucking up a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff ain't going down right now. Yeah, he's had a couple of great games there, but the other ones too, that percentage has been pretty down so far.
It's not quite one of those nightmare seasons. Plus, they're 2 games out of first place. It's not like this is not like Memphis, a team that was potentially a top 2, top 3 team in the conference and has the second worst record in the NBA right now. The Bucks are in better shape. Negative point differential, but they're not that far from being the top team in the East. They're also not that far from not being in the playoffs right now, because this is all really early. But there's a fair amount to be concerned over this team, but I still think a lot of this is early season. I think the adjustment is harder than any of us anticipated, but I still think a lot of this is adjustment. You don't like to have a coach figuring out how to coach in real time during games that count.
Right.
That's probably the biggest knock on all of this. But if it was Nick Nurse, but Damian Lillard were still struggling, or Damian Lillard was still struggling, they might 6-4. They might instead be 7-3, maybe. How much of a difference are we really talking here? I sound like I'm justifying Griffin. No, it's more realism. I don't know that it makes that much difference now. Eventually it could, when there's going to be separation at some point. We're not going to have a 3-game difference between first and like we have right now, but that's because we'll be games played. I think they have time to fix this. I'm going to give them a longer glide path. I'll wait till February. If we're mid-February, if we get to the All-Star break and they're in trouble, okay. Again, you're not firing Adrian Griffin. You're got to ride with him this season, short of losing the locker room, something like that. But no.
Right. Yeah.
I think they've got more time. It sucks right now when they're going up against clearly inferior opponents and struggling.
What has been the most impressive thing about the T-Wolves? Has it been their defense for you this year? Or what is there an element to this team that has maybe surprised you that you didn't think would happen?
Let's see. I think Rudy Gobert, actually, that he's playing like the Rudy Gobert that was anticipated to come to the Timberwolves. That's why you make the deal, is for this style of play. So that Tim Connolly is seeing what he wanted overall from that deal this season thus far. Again, small sample size. It's 10 games out of an 82-game season. A long ways to go. But this is it. Twin Towers. You can sub in Naz Reid for Cat. You still get that big approach at the front, so that changes the way the offense works. Or the defense works on other teams. The rebounding is finally there. This Timberwolves could not rebound for the life of them. Well, they're rebounding this season. I don't know what finally collectively clicked, but it did. Then defensively, they're getting defensive rebounds. Jumping out, there was that one play last night where Gobert is protecting the rim and then runs out and defends the corner three. That's it. That's what we want to see. So it's Gobert returning where it seemed like he was trending down, and based on his size, based on his age, there's a pretty good case to be made. Rudy Gobert basically Rudy Gobert as a defensive team in and of himself. That era was gone. So far in 10 games, it's back. Let's see if that holds for 72 more plus the playoffs, but it's back. Anthony Edwards he's making the leap. I'm not saying he's made it, but he's making the leap. I figured he could be a top 10 player. I'm sure he's starting to get, if this continues, he's going to start getting MVP talk. Whether he's not the favorite, that's still the Jokic, Giannis, Embiid territory. But Ant's going to start entering the discussion real fast, if not already, probably in some circles here. Gosh, this team looks good right now. My gosh. Yeah, okay. The following I'm going to say, fully recognizing that, like I said earlier, I still think the Bucks I'm still putting them in the Eastern Conference Finals. But right now, November 15th, the Timberwolves have a better shot of winning the NBA Finals than the Milwaukee Bucks. Straight up.
You think so?
Right now. Now, I say that fully understanding that that's...
Is this finally what year was it? When Jabari Parker was drafted and Andrew Wiggins was drafted, it's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get T-Wolves and Bucks in the finals here in a couple years.
Yeah, we thought it's going to happen. And then I remember there was that moment. I remember on the show, we talked about how maybe you'd rather be the Wolves than the Bucks. There was a certain point, I think it was right after maybe Towns was drafted. And then that changed real fast.
Mm-hmm.
The Timberwolves were a tire fire not that long ago. They have turned it around real quick. But again, I say all this. I keep couching this just because of how early it is in the season. If we're still saying this, they're the 2 seed in March. Okay, it's all legit. But yeah, this is the best case scenario. And the best case scenario can be the realistic scenario too. But it's all happening. They got the defense, they got the depth, they've got the talent. Anthony Edwards is getting better. I still think if Karl Anthony Towns had a great game last night, I still think he could be trade bait midseason if they need to make an adjustment where I'm not entirely convinced Towns is going to be good for a multiple round playoff run. He had a good stretch against the Nuggets last year in the playoffs. I don't know that we're going to keep seeing that, but I mean, maybe he's turned the corner too. But they're probably a top 5 team right now. On the Simmons pod, that like basketball is his lifeblood. He said they are a threat to win the NBA championship. I mean, it's like the highest circles of the NBA geek analysts are like, yep, they're there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is it feels to me what I bet it kind of felt like for Bucks fans. What was the first? Was it late 20? It was the beginning of the 18-19 season. Wasn't that the one where the Bucks went on that crazy run to start the season?
Right.
They had like the point differential was up there with like NBA champions and such like that. Where you go, oh my gosh, what happened to this team? That's what it feels like for the Timberwolves right now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if this holds, but boy, they're playing really good. This is so weird. I don't know. Gosh, I almost can't remember this ever happening.
Look at you being so excited
I
so
know,
early
like
in the
what?
season after saying it's early for the Bucks, and now you're talking championship for the T-Wolves.
It's true, but again, it's also early.
Jeez,
it's also early for the Timberwolves too.
Simmer down,
Hey,
man.
we could have
Come on.
Timberwolves Bucks NBA Finals. Take out the border battle element.
Well, finally get the Twins and Brewers World Series
Yes.
there. It would actually be,
But like that's a legitimate possibility. That's not one of those where, like in the Twins and Brewers case, you're like, well, they got the pitching. This could work, and then they flame out. I think a Wolves Bucks NBA Finals is very much in play, and take out again the border battle sentiment. As an NBA fan, that would be a blast. Giannis and Dame going up against Ant, making the leap, and whatever Gobert's. I would love to watch. That would be a great 7-game series. I'd love to see those two go against each other. Yeah, it's a possibility. If the Bucks can get their act together, we got some fun basketball up here in the Upper Midwest this season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think they will get their act together. It's gonna come at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It will.
All right, let's take a quick break here, and I'll tell you the answer to the little trivia question we put out there. What's your guess?
But I'll
you're gonna wait. You're gonna wait.
I'll wait.
Okay. Now I'm looking at first team All Pros. Okay. That's doing that because then we could really go into a deep dive on second teams and all that, whether they're worth it or whatever. So, all right, quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. So, a few games into the season here, Lucas. Who's the NBA Coach of the Year, Nick Nurse or Chris Finch?
It's Nick Nurse.
How many? I have not seen Bucks fans yet. Maybe they haven't. I just haven't seen it. Saying, see, this is why we should have hired Nick Nurse instead of Adrian Griffin.
Oh, I've seen that.
Have you seen that? Okay.
Yes, for sure.
I've been so down deep into football, Twitter, X, the dark holes of that to see the drama unfolding there.
I think, I mean, if you want drama, go into the deep dark holes of Twitter, X, NBA world.
No.
I'm just seeing the tip of the iceberg with the Adrian Griffin stuff.
If the Bucks finish outside the top 5 in the Eastern Conference and have a first round exit, I could see people calling for Adrian Griffin's job.
I think he's gone. Honestly, if
a one and done, a Ray Rhodes.
I think there's all roads lead to first round exits. Yeah, I think it's absolutely a possible. I don't want to say a probability, but I think it's a strong possibility. If he's clearly not, if that's the reason why, if he's clearly not turned around as a coach, it can't. I mean, if it's just a matter of you were bad early on, you were learning, you got a bad seed, bad matchup thing, and so that's why, because you ended up forced the Bucks to play the 1 seed in the second round or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, because of that, well, that's not the reason, because if they clearly improved, but they were so knocked so far down based on their seeding. Of course, remember, it's bracketing, so maybe they end up with a decent matchup because the NBA still insists on brackets. But yeah, if it's clearly Adrian Griffin has not learned by April and then they get swept out or maybe win a game, Adrian Griffin's gone. And we start this again.
Right.
And then we're going to start to hear Giannis's pick is gone. Sources indicate that the New York Knicks are ready for, and here we go. Yeah. That's going to start again. Even with the Nuka, it's going to start again. Brace yourselves. That's the worst case scenario, though, and I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
What is your answer? How many? And let me preface. I know all pros don't tell the whole story. We're just generalizing this.
These are draft picks.
Draft picks. Yeah.
So Brett Favre does not count.
Yep. Exactly.
3.
Well done. Nice job. Can you name the 3?
Leroy Butler?
No.
Oh.
Leroy Butler was drafted in 1990.
Let's see. So
I got a feeling a lot of people probably thought Leroy Butler.
Yeah. But... Oh, that's right. Dang it. You're right. Okay. So 91 to what he was done in. When was he done?
Well, it would have been no, because Mike Sherman would have been 04 over there too. So
03.
Yes, 03 or 04. It might have been 04. No, I don't know. 03, 02, somewhere around there. Let me look up when his career ended.
Let's see. I'm not going to take too long on this, but
Darren Sharper is one. 2000 was his last year, by the way.
Was it a kicker?
No.
Okay. Just saw some breaking football news. I'm sure you're seeing right now. You might want to hit the breaking news thing in just a little bit, but I'll keep guessing here. It's not Packer related in case anyone's like freaking out listening at home. It's not.
Is it the Deshaun Watson thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Deshaun Watson out for the season.
I don't think too many people are too.
Well,
upset.
I mean, given how he was performing, I mean, I know he was kind of banged up, but that sucks for Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. PJ Walker now time. XFL MVP, baby.
Woo!
Yeah.
They're a top 10 team in DVOA.
Hey, can Minnesota release Dobbs so he can go join Cleveland now?
Again?
Yeah, exactly.
The return?
The return. Lead him to the promised land.
Because isn't that what you do with Josh Dobbs? You only keep him for like 4 or 5 weeks.
Right. I mean, then he's not good after that. Move on.
But then he is good with wherever he goes after. Hey, does that mean if Jordan Love isn't performing all that well, the Pastronaut comes to the Packers, saves the season week 16, 17, 18?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You'd embrace him.
Yeah. All right. Back to your. So you got Leroy wrong. You got Darren Sharper right. So you got one of the safeties right.
Yeah. Are they? I'm not going to keep guessing because we're going to go over to the top of the hour. Is it an offensive or defensive lineman?
No.
Oof. No, I think
No.
Clay Matthews was later. All right, who are the other two?
Antonio Freeman was an All-Pro 1 year.
Yeah.
William Henderson, fullback.
Oh, right. Wow.
So William Henderson, Freeman, and Sharper.
One of the last star fullbacks.
Mm-hmm. Really
Man.
quick, any guesses how many Ted Thompson drafted?
Ooh. So Thompson would be 2000.
2005 to 2017.
Well, Aaron Rodgers.
There's an easy one.
Right. Matthews was 1. That's 2. I don't think Donald Driver was never an All-Pro.
Nope.
Okay.
And that was a Ron Wolf pick hit too. So
Right. But Jordy Nelson was.
no, he wasn't.
He wasn't?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a second team, but not first team. So
Wow. Did Devontae Adams get over the hump?
he did.
Okay, so that's 3. And how many more do I have to go?
He had 5 total.
Wow. Bakhtiari?
Yep. I don't think you'll get the next one.
Okay, who is it?
Corey Lindsley.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because in the offensive line, if you're doing your job, you're probably not going to be that well known, except for the All-Pro honors.
Yeah, Jordy was a second team All-Pro in 14.
Okay.
So
Ted Thompson clearly superior.
clearly better.
Yes.
Way better.
Did Mike
Way
Sherman draft any?
Okay, so that would have been what? 01? I think I still got it up here. 01 and all the way up to 05?
As general?
No.
04, because
okay,
05
no,
was-
Ron Wolf did the 01 draft. That was Jamal Reynolds.
So, wow. So 02, 3, 4. We're just talking 3 seasons because 05 was Ted and Aaron Rodgers.
So 02 was a Javon Walker draft.
Okay.
Aaron Campman. Nick Barnett was 03. 04 was the Ahmad Carroll, Joey Washington, let's get a bunch of defensive backs in there, sort of thing. So,
boy.
yeah, no.
So no All-Pros. No first team. Were there already like third team All-Pros?
I would have to look it up individually on there. So Pro Football Reference just lists the ones,
Okay.
the first team All-Pros on there. So
there's a reason Mike Sherman only had a 3-year run as a general manager.
a little bit, yeah.
There
Yeah.
are other reasons too, but that was the proof is in the data.
Mhm.
Pudding, if you will.
So Ron Wolf also, he did the 01 draft. Yeah, the Jamal Reynolds one there too. So, all right. Hey, the last time the Packers drafted a first round wide receiver, here's a trivia question: who was your GM? Mike Sherman.
Yeah.
Mike
There you
Sherman.
go, folks. Confidence.
You want a first round wide receiver for the Packers drafted? Hire Mike Sherman as your general manager.
He's going
There
to
you
trade
go.
up for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Let's go. Yes.
How excited are you for Brian Gutekunst to trade down in this upcoming?
Oh, don't.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing it all. First, a few weeks ago, like he's going to pass Marvin Harrison. Now trading down. Oh, it's all on the
I
table.
want Marvin Harrison Jr. so bad.
I'm going Elmo in front of the fire, in front of the flames with regard to the Packers draft. And that's not Schadenfreude. This is just like, it's happening and it's going to be hilarious. Just, for me, it'll be hilarious. It won't be hilarious for Packer fans, but it's coming.
I want Marvin Harrison Jr. so bad.
Would you, if the Packers are like 9th and Harrison, I know there's some projections for him to go number 1.
Yeah, Kyler Murray needs to just stop playing, be a bust, so the Cardinals have to get a different quarterback.
How bummed out were you when you saw him doing that run around?
Bummed.
Yeah. I forgot he did that against the Vikings. I saw that play. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot he can do that. Which is kind of sad to say about Kyler Murray. We forgot that he had that talent, but it's looking dicey.
We're
Tank
not.
Packers.
Yeah.
Tank. You
There
can
you
do
go. Go back to plain T. Tank for Marvin.
it. Starving for Marvin.
Starving for Marvin. There you go. I like it. All right. Stock reports coming up after these quick news updates. Final hour kicking off on this morning, November 15th. Appreciate y'all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. See, I was going down rabbit hole again.
Oh, boy.
Wolf's last draft in 01. Jamal Reynolds played 18 games, first round pick. 18 games. Robert Ferguson, though, was on there.
Okay.
Robert Ferguson. Remember Bao Zhu? Yeah, Bao Zhu.
Almost forgot.
Defensive back. He actually played the third most games with that draft class. The guy that played the most games was his 6th round pick, David Martin, tight end, 120. Good old David Martin, pick 198. So,
wow.
What was worse? Was it Jamal Reynolds or the oh boy, Justin Harrell pick from Ted Thompson?
Justin Harrell is he the non-Tony Mandarich go-to for a failed draft pick?
Maybe, probably.
I mean, Mandarich, of course, is like Mount Rushmore.
Right. You're talking Packers, right?
Could you argue that is the go-to example of the worst NFL draft pick of all time?
Who?
Outside of, well, I was going to say Tony Mandarich, but then Ryan Leaf is worst, and in terms of profile, context, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, profile, I didn't even know who Justin Harrell was when they first said no. I'm like, huh?
Like,
who?
For the Packers, Mandarich is obviously number one.
Yeah, Harrell only played 14 total games.
But I kept hearing that over and over, like, you drafted Justin Harrell, and I'm like, well, they sure did. But Mandarich is, I mean, Mount Rushmore. Ryan Leaf's probably number one. Mandarich is probably number two in terms of maybe Jamarcus Russell's third.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mandarich is in the discussion. But Harrell, in terms of like recent picks, yeah, that's the bad one. Well, they don't all work out. That's the thing. That's why I don't get too hung up over high draft picks.
I don't either.
Time's going along. I'm like, well, you start to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay.
Does it improve your chances of getting that better player? Absolutely, it does, but it doesn't guarantee anything.
It's projection, and you see all the time throughout the first into the lower second rounds about it. It's kind of a mix.
I still remember being at the draft in 2015 in Chicago, and Brandon will appreciate this too. Bears fans were pumped about Kevin White, man. They were pumped about Kevin White. Heck yes. And no. Nope. Oh, remember when the Lions went on that run of drafting a bunch of receivers in the first round too? That didn't work out either.
No.
So.
They stopped doing that, and now they're good.
Hey,
I mean, that's not causation equals correlation, or you know what I mean.
You got remember Rich Campbell too, for if you want to do a little Green Bay quarterback reference. So
those who know.
Yeah. Yep. So
here's where all your 70s and 80s Packers fans raise their hands.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're hearing a lot from them nowadays, by the way.
Yeah.
Notice that?
Yeah.
Well, justifiably so, but they've become more vocal this year.
Got texter saying Derek Sherrod over Justin Harrell. I think I'd probably still go Justin Harrell because Derek Sherrod, I think, was the last pick in the first round draft. And then I remember he suffered that gruesome leg injury. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if he would have gone on to be a really good tackle, but I think I'd still go Justin Harrell. Yeah. Just because middle first round. Derek Sherrod was also a pick too that we kind of knew Green Bay was looking for a tackle. Like, that wasn't a surprise pick. Like, yeah, okay, that makes sense, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Because I think that was the end of Chad Clifton or somewhere. Yeah. But yeah, I remember watching that. Was it the 07 draft with Harrell? And be like, who? What? Huh? What? And people just flipping out. At least Sherrod was like, okay, yeah, we get it. They needed a tackle, and that fit like all the mock drafts that were out there too. So I think, was it the Kansas City game that Derek Sherrod suffered that gruesome leg injury, like a bad leg injury? He missed the whole 2012 season because of it. So, but
just found his Twitter account, Derek Sherrod's Twitter account.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Most recent post was about Arsenal.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, he does say former Green Bay Packer and Mississippi State Bulldog, movie guru, music enthusiast, #Hail State all day, every day.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's do some stock reports. Whose stocks are rising? Whose stocks are falling? Rising for you.
Rising for me, Brian Flores. I wonder, is he going to get a head coaching job next year? I know he got some interviews, but there's part of me, I'm being totally selfish as a Vikings fan, but there's part of me that's like, enough teams going to still be a little turned off because the whole Flores suit's still going on. They're like, yeah, no, you just stay. So he sticks around as D coordinator for another year. I didn't think their defense was going to be this much better. Were they're like a good defense? They're not a great defense, but a good defense is way better than whatever the heck they were doing last year. Well, we know it was the Ed Donatel's shell. Gosh, that sucked. That was they're so much better this year. And that it's Flores. Flores turned around a unit that didn't have a ton of talent, to be blunt. There's not a lot. And it came around. He is the reason. I think he's a major reason why the Vikings are above 500. That they don't have to outscore opponents like they had to last year. His stock is definitely up, and I think if a team is willing to give him a head coaching job, I think he's definitely in line to get one. And like I said, I kind of selfishly hope that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, his stock is definitely rising.
My stock riser is actually the team the Vikings will be playing, and that's the Denver Broncos right now. I can't believe I'm saying that.
That's true.
But wins against Buffalo this past, and then, just they're playing better football now. What they beat the Chiefs. They started off with the Packers. You're welcome, everybody over there, I guess, for Denver. But Russell Wilson's actually playing a little bit better after just a weird, god-awful start and barely beating the Bears. They're 4-5 right now. And they got the Vikings. They got the Browns now without Deshaun Watson. They got the Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. Could they make it? Probably not, but they're playing better now.
Yeah,
you got to give them credit.
What are they, 4-5?
4-5 right now. They've won their last 3 in a row. So,
gosh, if they beat the Vikings, yeah, they're 5. I mean, yeah, they still got a ways to go, but this is a pretty good turnaround.
Yep.
See, that's the guy that the Packers could have had. By the way,
stop it.
By the way, are we still hearing Taysom Hill Packers stuff anytime Taysom Hill does a thing? I was watching the Vikings game and Taysom Hill does a couple things, and of course it pops into my mind. See, hey, by the way, Packers had Taysom Hill. Like, I remember hearing that so much. Like, stop, folks.
Yeah,
no, stop. Also, he hasn't had that great of a season.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of the Packers, stock faller. I'm not sure how much is his fault or if it's a chemistry thing. It's like a longer-term Adrian Griffin because, of course, we're halfway through the season of the NFL season. But Christian Watson.
Don't tell his dad that.
Why?
Oh, he was on Twitter. Was it Sunday after the game?
Oh.
Screenshotting Devontae Adams' first 2 years. I mean, he's not wrong, but that's also saying your kid's going to be Devontae Adams. So, I mean, let's back it up a little bit. Okay. So I'm not ready to jump off the Watson bandwagon. So
no, especially that deeper dive, I should say, that Domofsky did on the Watson love connection, if you will. It seems like something isn't clicking that could well click eventually, but given how Watson improved last season, I think some of that is on the receiver to be in the right spot, and he's not always in the right spot. So there maybe it is a second season Devontae Adams regression style situation. We went through that. We're like, he seemed like a liability for a little while. I get that's okay, fine. But not everyone's then going to turn it around and become like top flight receiver after that. This has got to turn around relatively quickly because there are enough other guys that are syncing up with Love. For whatever we say about Love, still not. Dobbs is finding something. Wicks is finding. Reed is definitely finding something. Watson's kind of the odd one out right now. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, and maybe it's a temporary thing, and it wouldn't say.
I would say Dobbs, Romeo Dobbs, though, too. I mean, yes, he's getting the touchdowns, but you'd like to see him a little bit more active within the game itself, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you look at his receiving yards, and it's like, where the heck is that at? So
is this like the Bubba Franks? Lots of touchdowns, but how much else in the game? Which, I mean, hey, still touchdowns are touchdowns. I mean, at least you're catching the ball when it really, really counts. But there's also the rest of the game, too. Not everything is a touchdown. Well, Watson's got to do everything a little bit more right now. So for their sake, I hope they fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My stock follower is the Buffalo Bills. That that's a mess. I mean, they fired Ken Dorsey yesterday, which, I mean, okay, if Denver doesn't make that field goal, which, if they didn't have 12 men on the field, if Buffalo didn't have 12 men on the field, is Ken Dorsey fired? Probably not, right?
Sad
Optics.
to say, but that's true, I think.
Optics. It's like you get a win and then fired somebody.
Which
it's
is funny
not
because is that Ken Dorsey's fault for having 12 men on the field on special teams?
He's the scapegoat right
it's
now.
Totally that.
100% the scapegoat. Could you say there's issues with the offense? Absolutely. But the optics don't look the greatest right now. So 5-5 right now with Buffalo. Easily stopped down. Now you got Diggs' brother sitting there saying, Stefan's got to get out of there. Stefan or Cal has got to get out of there. So yeah, Buffalo's Super Bowl window is closed, in my opinion. Done.
Really?
Done.
The rebuild is beginning.
Retool. You got your quarterback. They ain't getting rid of Josh Allen, so retool it. I don't think Diggs is on this team next year.
Probably not. It's a good excuse to get rid of him. That's for sure. Madden coverage inks back again with Gusto.
Ooh, good call.
It looked like it was kind of fading off, like the SI coverage inks kind of faded for a while.
Yep.
Thought Madden was. I mean, granted, when you start having like multiple covers, you're like, come on. Yeah. Is he the Brett Favre of the 2020s?
I don't know who said it. Might have been somebody on was it First Take the other day.
I know Awful Announcing has started to collect a few examples of that.
He's a Favre because he makes some good throws, but he also loses you a lot of games too. I don't until Josh Allen wins a Super Bowl and maybe some MVPs, he's not going to have the benefit of the doubt for Favre.
Is the Favre not that much of an own? Like, oh, cool. So you're comparing him to a top 10 quarterback who won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Oh, well, I mean, I know you're saying not you, but what they are saying is the negative on him. I mean, as someone who grew up in Wisconsin and remembers the early Favre era, like if you're signaling circa 1993-94 Favre, okay, yeah, that's a criticism. But I don't think. I mean, maybe these analysts remember that, but I don't think they're that particular. They're just doing the old gunslinger in the negative side.
They're just, it's so hot. Like, who was one of them yesterday said Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the league?
Was that Ryan Clark? Or no,
it wasn't Ryan Clark. It was Dominic.
Oh, Dominic Foxworth.
Yeah. I saw that. I'm like, oh, God.
Cowboy takes. Here we go.
Really?
Yep.
Dak is the best quarterback in the league.
I saw that. I was just like,
I just kept going by. I'm like, nope, no thing. I don't even need to read that or watch that for the reason.
Okay, yeah. And the highlight I remember from the Giants game was the one where he throws it way off and was it Lamb? I can't remember which receiver. It might have been Lamb. He had to like contort his body back to catch the ball. And then Prescott sticks out his tongue because he knows he was like, yep, I kind of screwed that up. Thanks for bailing me out. Like, it was very clear on like, okay,
which should mean that Mike McCarthy is the best play caller in the league right now.
No, see, it's Dak Prescott. Dak, when they succeed, it's Dak Prescott. When not, it's Mike McCarthy's fault. See, we can just take what we did in Green Bay and insert it right into Dallas.
Yeah. Yep. There's I haven't had a chance to look at it. It was just up a couple hours ago, but ESPN has got a breakdown of offensive court. Weird timing, huh? Where each NFL Nation reporter talks about the offensive side and the coordinators and what's gone right and what's gone wrong and keys to the second half and that sort of stuff. But for Rob, for the Packers, key to the second half somehow, despite the youth at receiver and tight end, the Packers have to figure out what Love can do well. There's a lot riding on it for the head coach, who has been tasked with developing the offense around Love, and for Goody, who drafted Love to be the next franchise quarterback. So, you want to know your Vikings?
I got the thing right up here.
Okay. Stay flexible. Stretch Armstrong flexible.
Nice.
So, yeah, I don't know. But, hey, don't be dissing Jordan Love now because – according to I saw this from Zach Cruz, and I'm not picking on him by any means, but Pro Football Focus, last 2 weeks, man, 6th highest graded quarterback. Take away 3 quarterbacks who only played 1 game in those 2 weeks. He's the 3rd highest. Yeah.
I mean,
It's only 2 weeks. But
okay,
yeah.
it's time here. We may need to get Jim Cutler on this one because I keep coming back to this. The Levometer. Again, 0 is cut him tomorrow. 10, Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame quarterback. Where are you at this week?
I thought he had a very solid 3 quarters in that Pittsburgh game.
Okay.
Very solid. Like, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, solid play. Wasn't anything like, top 10 throws, wasn't throwing, like these just amazing, like tight cover, whatever. I don't want to discredit the Romeo one in the end zone because that was a nice touch throw. But you look at that 4th quarter again, interception in the end zone to Christian Watson. You're like, dude, what we're making there? So that knocks it. I'm still at a 6. Okay. I'm at a 6
but that's
right now.
up. I thought you were at about were you at a 5.5?
Was it maybe 5.5?
Yeah. So you're
okay.
You're getting better.
So maybe have I gone 5, 5.5, and
like
6?
A 4 to a 5 to start. Then you were like either a 5 or a 5.5 last week. So
okay.
You're going up.
I'm at a 6.
Okay.
I thought the 3 quarters were good. I thought they were solid. But it's all about stacking success and building that. And let's.
Yeah, I think
you got a really porous defense coming to Lambeau now.
Yes.
But also a very good offense. So can you get in a shootout or not?
Chargers. Who knows with this team? They are the enigma of the NFL. They still feel like they should be a top 5 team. And yet, I don't know. Like, do you have a read? I can never get a read on a Chargers game. Like, I could see the Packers being blown out. I could see them blowing out the Chargers. Anything is possible with that team.
Packers should pay special attention because that's probably their new defensive coordinator on that sideline.
Yeah. How excited are you for, like, okay, no, rephrase. Over under 4th down attempts inside your own 35-yard line, collective between the Chargers and Packers. I'm setting it at 2.5. Over under number of 4th down attempts inside your own 35 between the Packers and Chargers.
I'll go under. I'm gonna go under on that. But I do say
because the Chargers are good for at least one of them.
Yeah. But I will say I think this is kind of getting overlooked, and maybe I'm over exaggerating it here. But I thought that was it 4th and 6 call from LaFleur, and they went for it and they got that 1st down. Ballsy call by LaFleur. Also, a very sort of mind game call by LaFleur, trying to send a message to his young offense, saying, you know what I mean? Like 4th and 6 with that offense and that. I thought that was a ballsy call. I don't know if I would have done it, but I thought that was him trying everything to send a message to this group, to get in a little bit flow, to just try to display some confidence with them.
At first blush, you might go, okay, that's a dangerous thing to do in a game where you got to win the game. Okay, well, again, look, is this Matt LaFleur doing the 35,000-foot approach? Like, we're not winning the Super Bowl this year. We got to do stuff like, sorry, folks. So he's like, I'm going to do stuff like this. This may cost this game, but I got to do this now if we're going to be good regularly down the road. If we keep babying this team, we're not going to improve at all. So I'm okay with certain teams in certain contexts, and this is like the case with the Packers this year. I'm okay with doing that. Sure. Do something a little risky like that if it helps. Well, I think that might use the term, move the ball forward a little bit for the Packer organization, for the offense. They do need to learn. They're that young. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Marcus Spears, by the way, this morning too, Dak is playing the best quarterback right now in the league.
Okay, now there is a difference between playing versus you are the best quarterback. I'm parsing a little bit, but you see where I'm going?
Yeah, I know what you're going with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Maybe that like if you had a fantasy draft for this upcoming week and just a generic, not based on opponent, but in a generic sense, who'd be your number 1 pick? Okay, if you're doing a fantasy draft right now, who is your quarterback right now?
CJ Stroud.
Well,
is it a long-term one or is it a short-term one?
This is for next weekend. And don't even factor in opponent. Just who are you taking right now?
Tua.
I mean, I'm tempted to take Stroud.
I don't know the opponent, so that's why I just like I'm like trying to go off the top of my head.
Yeah. I mean, I think Dak Prescott's a pretty decent choice. Are we
I don't trust Prescott.
That's the thing. Like maybe for a week, not for a season. By the way, are we officially putting to rest the nascent growing, see, Brock Purdy, he really is a terrible quarterback thing that started to burst up? Like the moment he had a bad game, like everyone pounced. And then it lasted for like 2 more weeks. And then it was all Brock Purdy's in trouble. So after this week, are we finally like getting our sanity collectively back and not jumping on him because he was Mr. Irrelevant? Like it felt like everyone was ready for that take and they just shelved it.
Mm-hmm.
And they took it at the moment they could. So then you look like idiots when he turns around and actually has one of the better.
I love
good game.
This top 5 really quick before we go to break. Top 5 quarterbacks in passing yards. I love it. Any guess on number 1?
Passing yards. Okay. Oh gosh.
And yes, there's a mixture of some have played 10, some have played 9.
Right. It's not Stroud, is it?
He's 2 though.
Okay, I figured he'd be up there. Who is it? It's a quarterback there. Okay, who is it?
Sam Howell, Washington.
Wow.
CJ Stroud 2, Tua 3, Josh Allen 4, Jared Goff 5.
So you got Josh Allen, terrible quarterback in there.
Jared Goff, who Detroit should have replaced the last 3 years, but he just continues to play solid football.
One of the Washington commies.
And then a rookie that everybody thought would fall in the draft.
And Tua,
who again, not a lot of people were sold on.
Right. So there you go. Welcome to the NFL this season.
You know who's still is at number 10 by playing only playing 8 games? That'd be your Kirk Cousins.
Wow.
Still at number 10.
Does this say something about the reduction in offense overall this season? Just to get kind of the trend towards that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Stroud put up like historically good numbers, but it's probably more a circumstance of that. Yeah. I mean, it happens to be going this way. By the way, is there anything the NFL is gonna do about this to improve? Like, there's not like a play they can outlaw or whatever. Like, it's just defense is better this year. I mean, what are you gonna do?
No,
I know that
everybody should just run the tush push.
Gosh,
I'm just because I'm looking at these numbers and I think it's kind of interesting because obviously Jordan Love, you look at the numbers and he's not great in a lot of areas, right? You know where his numbers, who they compare to though, and I just find some parallels with this.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford this year. Matthew Stafford has a QBR of 56. Jordan Love, 46.5. Matthew Stafford 8 touchdowns and 7 picks. Jordan Love 14 touchdowns, 10 picks. And I know Matthew Stafford has played one less game. It was against Green Bay. They're both a little over 2,000 yards passing. Both of them, their completion percentages. This year, Matthew Stafford 59.7, Jordan Love 58.7. I mean, you got a lot of similarities there. And Matthew Stafford's got Cooper Kupp and maybe one of the, the young wide receiver rookie. I just blanked on his name, but I can picture him.
Puka.
Yeah, that guy over there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's kind of interesting that these two have very similar numbers right now.
Yeah, and I know Stafford's had somewhat of a down season, but he hasn't turned into jelly. I mean, he's not Mitchell Trubisky. So, that's why I'm definitely not in the give up on Jordan Love zone. There's enough good stuff I'm seeing with him that I'm a little underwhelmed. I thought he would have progressed further, but I think there's still room to development. I mean, we can build on this, to quote Herm Edwards. Yeah, I mean, there's foundational stuff there, but can you put the whole house together? And that's the question mark. But yeah, he's not terrible.
Did you take him over Josh Dobbs?
Oh gosh, that's. I mean, I might actually like future sense, in a future's sense.
Really?
Well, I mean, Dobbs.
You're drinking the Kool-Aid right now, man.
Dobbs does not have the track record. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And look, maybe
you've got like one more good game, and then you're done.
Right. I know. That's the thing. But yeah, okay, and maybe something got unlocked here. You never know. Sometimes a quarterback gets into a certain situation.
Oh,
And,
good. Now you're
my
going to
gosh.
have your offseason quarterback issues. Are you bringing back Kirk Cousins or Joshua Dobbs?
Oh, totally Dobbs
Oh, God.
for sure. Younger dude, really smart.
Is he like the next Geno Smith?
Ooh, it's not a bad comp. I mean, Geno, talk about a career resurrection. Now, granted, Dobbs didn't.
I mean, look at Joshua Dobbs' numbers. He's under 2,000 yards passing, but 11 touchdowns and 5 picks.
Yeah, like it's decent.
Cardinals screwed the pooch there.
Yes, well, Cardinals have screwed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like probably 15% of all the Joshua Dobbs love across the country right now is they rescued him from Arizona. I'm not ready yet to ponder the Joshua Dobbs as a future
stop
quarterback.
it.
No,
you got to get there.
That's my
Come
point.
on.
No, that's my point. Like, I'm not there at all.
You got to overreact. Get a hot take. Come on.
You want a hot take? Joshua Dobbs.
Jake from State Farm checking in from Kentucky before we get to Luke's hot take. You got it now?
Just about.
Jeez. Little update from the Scotty boys. Kentucky had us in the first half. We now have $2 and 5 does. Nothing huge, but 1 3.5-year-old buck. Deer are significantly smaller down here. Every piece of land is leased, but nobody gun hunts on private land. Pretty weird. We've seen some magnums in the truck and a few out feeding in the fields before dark. There's garbage in the woods everywhere. The state is kind of a dump, and the locals are definitely different. One local had some wild cows on his property. No tags, no markings, nothing. Cow got stuck in a creek bed, so they got a rope around its head and hooked it up to a Ford F-350 and yanked it out of the swamp riverbed. Then took it to some livestock place and sold it for $2,000. This state is crazy. We went to one of the 5 taverns within 100 miles and found $6 5-bottle Busch Light buckets along with half-off apps. Bought 10 beers, loaded nachos and chips, salsa and queso for $22. Absolutely wild down here in banjo country.
Where in out of curiosity, where in Kentucky? Like approximately, not exactly, but where are we talking? Like coal country, eastern Kentucky? Are we talking like the horse area in the south? Where are we talking in Kentucky?
Apparently, where they got wild cows, wherever that is.
Wild cows, Kentucky.
I have no
I'm
idea.
Googling this.
I have no idea.
Highland, this Kentucky farms have got like Highland cows. That sounds crazy down there. Absolutely crazy. By the way, do you hear about the wild pigs that are invading Minnesota?
All right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Feral pigs. Right. I saw that headline yesterday.
It's a touchy subject around here too, because because you can harvest them, but you got to make sure it's a wild.
Right.
You got to make sure it's a wild, and that's a very thin line. So careful.
Gosh.
Very careful. I'm serious.
I know. That's
very
thing.
serious.
Like it's definitely a thing. Like I'm reading the NPR story on feral pigs, and like I know at first blush is like, oh my gosh, wild pigs invading Minnesota from Canada. Like it sounds comical, and then you read it, you're like, oh, okay, no, this is legit, and this has to be addressed. Wild cows, though, wow. I'm not going to go hunting in Kentucky. I did see
Madisonville, south of Evansville. He said.
Okay.
So, I've never been to Kentucky.
I've driven through twice. Once was going down to Florida, and the other was on the way back from Florida. Did stop at my first ever Cracker Barrel in Paducah.
I'm glad you finished that because you said crack at first. So
I know at first you're like, I had my first time. See, now that's when the EAS test would hit. I had my first time trying crack. Like, wow. What was I saw, by the way, before I get to my hot take, did see, because it's that time of year. Not only did I had to drive down to Minnesota, family visit with my daughter, introducing the daughter to the extended fam later yesterday. A, lots of deer on the side of the road, not alive. B, there was one deer that did successfully get across the road on the drive south of 93 that had some pretty nice antlers on it. I'm like, you better be careful next couple weeks.
No, nobody will get it.
Yep.
Odds are nobody will get it. Don't worry. So
yeah, he'll be looking around like, y'all suck.
Odds are better that it'll get hit instead of actually harvested.
Probably a lot of blood on the road.
Jesus.
Because the deer. I mean, it's not an exorbitant amount, but it was not the prettiest drive, shall I say. All right, hot take for next year for the Vikings.
Yeah, save this.
Save it still?
No, I'm just saying save the conversation right now.
Okay.
Going from a lot of blood on the road to hot takes.
Well, blood on the highway to a hot take. Well, there's kind of a correlation between the two if you think about it. Okay, a real hot take would be the analytics show that Justin Jefferson is expendable. I saw Peter King put that near the top of Football Morning in America, and I know that's a great stat to one of the one in. Was it like?
Oh, is this the Ewing effect again?
A little bit. I mean, he didn't say, but that's what it is. Like, okay, cool, but I'm not knocking him. I mean, I've seen other people doing that too, but that's also because the team is evolved as the season's gone along. I mean, if Justin Jefferson missed the first 5 games and he was in for the next 5 games, probably would have a similar stat. It's the way the team has evolved. So a hot take that I don't entirely believe in because it is a real hot take. is that Joshua Dobbs is going to get a 3-year contract with the Vikings.
Okay, so that is a Geno Smith deal.
Yep, they're gonna that would be the hot take. I don't think they will do that, but it's in play for sure.
And then Kirk Cousins is elsewhere.
And Kirk Cousins is
You're just gonna kick him up to the curb.
Future Green Bay Packer quarterback Kirk Cousins. How would you feel if that happened? If they brought Cousins in as a veteran guy.
Oh, he ain't gonna be a backup. You're talking like
that's the thing, and then he ends up becoming like partial starter.
He won't. No. He'll be a starter next year. He'll be a starter somewhere next year. He ain't go. No
percentage chance Kirk Cousins goes to the Packers.
I
know it's small.
7.
Yeah, it's under 10.
7.
I've seen a little talk about that. No, I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
either.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think of. I mean, there's too many teams that would gladly take him they think they're close. Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Well, would be an option. Washington, these teams that probably aren't going to be in the top of the draft because they're screwing around and they keep winning games.
Yep.
And they still need a quarterback. So
49ers when they have their inevitable next round.
Yeah, Kirk going back to Washington, that would be something.
Gosh.
But
yeah. I think Cousins...
Jets after Aaron Rodgers comes back this year and re-tears his Achilles. This guy, I'm sorry, is he's really getting on my nerves right now because I don't even watch it, but it's all over the place. Like now yesterday at Pat McAfee, you know what he said?
Yeah.
The plan's was always to be full go by Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving, which is next week, right?
Yeah.
And then it was, Melissa Stark's report said that, he told her that, December sort of whatever. And then he downplayed that. And then it's just like, he tells Derwin James a couple weeks ago, give me a few more weeks. And he's like, no. Yeah, it's going to be a while. Got hurdles. Shut up. For God's sakes.
I bring up Simmons only because his podcast is so widely listened to that it becomes a little more influential just by dint of that. So the excerpt that was going around, it was him and his Monday morning one that he does with cousin Sal, where he's saying Rodgers is doing this because he's upset that the whole Taylor and Travis thing is soaking up all the media attention. So he's throwing all this stuff out there to get the spotlight back on him. Now, again, that's not an insider thing. That's just a take. Do you buy that at all?
I have a different conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I'm in a conspiracy theory mood because I'm reading a JFK book right now. So, and
timely with the
next
JFK
week,
news and 60th anniversary.
60th, yes. 60 years next week. And I'm listening to JFK podcast right now too. I feel like it's not really conspiracy theory, I guess, but I feel like he keeps running this around and saying, gonna return at some point to try to keep the team, almost like give the team hope. Like, hey, I'm coming back if you guys get us in a playoff spot. Kind of a rallying cry, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to provide a little motivation that he's the savior, that he will come in. You guys keep winning, get us in that position. I'll be back. Kind of a momentum, sort of thing. That's what I feel like he's doing.
It's not a terrible thing, really. I mean, that's actually more team oriented. If it does keep the team afloat, I mean, I'm not sure where they're going to do a quarterback in the interim.
I love how the ups and downs of this Zach Wilson thing has just been so, awful. He's actually playing well. Back to awful, week in and week out.
The thing is, your thing on box score scouting really applies to Zach Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Because like sometimes during Jets games, I'll bring up the box score, see how he's doing. I'm like, it's not bad. Then the game is done. It's like, did you see how bad Zach Wilson was? Like, whoa, what? And then you'd find out. I mean, it's the key plays.
Mm-hmm.
His stats aren't horrendous, but
Russell Wilson's another really good example of that. You look at his box score. I think he's got 18 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, and yet people have been asking, "Is like, oh, he's finally playing better these last couple weeks."
Well, but at key times he was not playing well. That's the thing. You have to, if you watch the games. Then if you look at the context, then you understand. I don't know. I mean, uh, I'm so glad it's over there and not over here.
Mm-hmm.
I just, yeah, just.
If he comes back, awesome, great. But I mean, come on, the Jets can't be idiots about this either, can they? You're going to put out a 40-year-old quarterback on a record pace of an Achilles injury behind that porous offensive line. And oh, by the way, this 40-year-old quarterback has a tendency to hold on to the ball at the very last seconds.
Yeah, bit of a problem.
Somebody needs to step in and just say, no. No.
Intervention on
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers?
Yes. Somebody, I hope at some point, not a Jets fan by any means, I would hope is smart about this and be like, no.
So let's say this does happen and they come back and he comes back. Okay, earliest would probably be the Texans. That wouldn't be the greatest defense, the D'Amico Ryans led Texans. Then at the Dolphins, weaker defense than we thought. Hosting the Commies, Christmas Eve, jingle jingle. Then talk about defenses at the Cleveland Browns and good old Myles Garrett. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, let's be real here. It's not a gentleman's game.
No.
People will target that area.
Yeah, for sure. And granted, the last week of the season, he's at the Patriots. So basically, it's a gimme. But, can't believe I'm saying that. But there's some not good defenses with that not good there are some really good defenses with some not good offense with that not good offensive line. That's a problem. Also, this team had that team meeting that coincided with the third string running back getting cut. You think this team is in a great spot right now? I'm going to be glad when the Aaron Rodgers' player era is done.
Mm-hmm.
Because he keeps it. I mean, I know he gets paid to go on the McAfee show, so that's part of the reason why we get all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, because I saw the quote yesterday.
World.
I know. The first thing I thought, of course, when I saw the thing, here's what Aaron Rodgers has to say, I'm like, really? Are we going back? And then I caught myself after about a second and a half and went, that's right. He has a paid gig to go on there, so of course they're going to promote it because they're promoting Pat McAfee because he's the high profile. I get it. Okay, fine. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't be hearing as much.
We assume he would not be on there if he wouldn't get paid, right? No. I don't care that they're really good friends. He wouldn't be on there. Right?
He'd be on there every so often, but not
the weekly.
That's the thing. So then you end up getting Rodgers takes on a frequent basis, and it ends up with goofy stuff getting.
So I'm assuming Nick Saban probably gets paid.
Yeah,
because the Saban one surprised me the most that he would commit weekly to that.
Has to be.
He's got to be getting a paycheck.
Well, and I heard a lot of talk about this after the McAfee thing came out. The McAfee Rodgers thing came out, to which a lot of the analysis went, well, yeah, on local shows, not to like our level, but like a lot of like big market local shows. That's what happens.
Yeah, I know. I know of some that used to do that. So,
yeah, standard procedure. So yeah, it's because it's Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers, high profile names have gotten a lot of takes on both of them, and so everyone's all up in arms. I mean, insert Scott Van Pelt and try to think of a quarterback that's got a really high Q rating, right? Like I would say Patrick Mahomes, but that's like too obvious.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Okay. Take those two, Scott Van Pelt and Joe Burrow. And if you found out that Burrow was being paid that much money to be on with Scott Van Pelt on a weekly basis, that'd be a little bit of controversy. Not nearly as much because you got two very likable people involved there. Not that McAfee is unlikable, but he induces opinions. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, he's not that likable now. I think that's a fair assessment.
Right.
That's why we're talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yep. I did find it interesting a couple weeks ago about that college game day poll. Did you hear about that?
What was that again?
Was it like 49% or 50% did not like McAfee on that?
Yeah, that's right.
That surprised me. But I think it depends on the target audience that voted in that, though, too.
Is it because college football people are not as much McAfee people? And there is I was surprised to learn this, but there are plenty of like NFL people who cannot stand college football. And I think there's vice versa on that too. Plenty of college football diehards not into the NFL at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They are very opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
And so they think McAfee is NFL world guy.
Yep.
He's stepping on their turf.
Mm-hmm.
and just there for ratings and viral moments and shares and all of that. That's all that it is.
Yep.
Like, okay, sure. And that's exactly what ESPN's doing, and mission accomplished. We're seeing more of that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I get it.
See Stephen A. Smith's new studio. I saw he was touting that on social media yesterday.
Ooh, I did not.
I don't
Is it
get it.
snazzy?
Sure. It's Steve Smith. So Stephen A. Smith.
Okay, I was like,
apologize.
well,
Yeah.
Steve Smith is getting
No,
the game.
Stephen
now?
A. My apologies. So
A. Smith.
all right. Quick break. We'll be back in just a little bit to wrap up the program. Bucks back in action tonight. You can catch the game right here, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Tip-off, 6:30. Pregame coverage will begin at 6 p.m. See if the Bucks can pick up their 7th win of the season.
By the way, I saw Stephen A. Smith's new set. It's decent. I like it, but it feels very like late night Showtime talk show set. Like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. I was reading Tom Pelissero about Deshaun Watson's shoulder injury. Deshaun Watson wanted to be shot up and play through the injuries, and he sought multiple medical options, but doctors were clear. If he got hit again in the same spot, the shoulder would fall apart. Holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not good.
Like, I imagine like falling apart. Like, I don't know.
It just
I'll have to ask Dr. Crow that on Friday, but
next game is against the Steelers. TJ Watt coming running around.
Yeah,
If that
if
happened,
he would have done that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Yep.
Bronco defense trending up, bad. Aaron Donald next week, bad. Yeah. That
Nice.
probably would have fallen apart pretty quickly.
I had a visual of that. I'm like, ooh, yucky.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even imagine that. So, okay. Badger Hoops losing last night to Providence. Greg Gard not happy with his team's performance, including calling out some of his veterans in the game last night. Just a couple of post-game comments on Stephen Krall and Tyler Wall. Greg Gard said, finish. They've been here 9 years combined. Finish in the paint. They've got to finish. You get the ball that tight, you better get to the foul line, and you better finish. Benjamin Wargol, who covers the Badgers for Badger Blitz, he's a senior writer there, said that this is the angriest, most perturbed Greg Gard has been in a long time, calling out Tyler Wall and Stephen Krall for not finishing in the paint. Says, in not so many words, that freshmen Nolan Winter and John Blackwell are playing harder than they are right now. So, and I think it's also a way for Gard to kind of tell it, guys, looking at our schedule coming up here, it's getting tougher because you've got, starting in Marquette at the beginning of December, you got Marquette, Michigan State, and Arizona. All really good ranked teams.
Is this the toughest the Badgers have ever gone up against Marquette in this early season game? I'm trying to think, did they have this home and home, or not home and home, but this annual game back in the 70s?
I don't know.
And yeah, to look on that, but it feels like because again, this is the highest preseason ranking in Marquette history.
And then you got Virginia coming up next week as part of your tournament play too. So, yeah, I think it's part of Greg Gard too, understanding what's coming up and saying, "Hey, kick it into gear here." It's not getting any easier. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of breathing room, if you will.
Yeah.
Because after that, I mean, you're pretty much starting your Big Ten schedule too. So Michigan State part of that, but you know what I mean, like right after Arizona. So
it's.
But
It's
AJ Storr,
early.
my that guy that I've been high on for a while now, 22 points last night for him. So, hey, if these youngsters, I don't care if they're freshmen, if they're playing better and they're playing harder than some of these veterans, sit their butts down.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Sit them down.
Who's ever the best, go for it.
Yep. They've had opportunities. They're not going to do it. Sit them down. Play the guys that give you the best opportunity to win. That's my philosophy on that. I don't care if they're freshmen or not. So.
Where do you think AJ Storr is on, like, if you're doing like MVP of the team? Going early here.
3 games in.
3 games in, but by the end of the season, where do you think he is in the rankings?
Oh, he's number 1. He's going to be number 1. He's the best player on their team right now. I like that guy a lot.
Okay.
I like him a lot.
Cool.
So, Rockford, Illinois native.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, what else do we got? Just about a minute left here. Are your T-Wolves in action tonight?
I believe they are. They're playing the Suns.
Okay.
That are now at full strength as of tonight.
All right.
So now we get the test because I had the Suns going to the NBA final. Okay, shouldn't be the test because they're give them a couple games to get their feet under. But okay, cool. Let's see. This is another fun one. I like these matchups. That if there's chippiness, outside of Draymond Green headlock stuff.
Yep.
Good, cool. I mean, the Wolves, the up and comers. Suns have been around. The Warriors have been around a long time. I'm not saying there's going to be drama tonight, but let's see it. Good. This should be fun.
College football playoff. We got a little bit of change. Georgia back in the 1 spot. No big surprise. Ohio State at 2. Michigan at 3, which means that ain't happening. My conspiracy theory is still going to hold up.
Yep.
Right up there, too. So it ain't happening. Florida State 4, Washington 5, Oregon 6. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back at it again tomorrow.